Hey YouTube, J2SJosh here from MTGAZone.com. We're here to go over Maro's Dominaria United teaser. First thing to point out is that Maro is exactly like those tricksy hobbitses, and always only trying to give you some of the information and trying to get you so that you think something's coming that's not. But with enough detective work, you can start to figure some of these out. So, why don't we go over these? First up, a new evergreen counter. It's really hard to guess on this. I think considering that it's evergreen, it has to be something that can go into any set. So it's probably just something that's been used before, like a trample counter or something like that, but now being used as an evergreen one. A popular Planeswalker card gets a reprint. Well, we can speculate on these. I'll only pull up some options here. So my personal hope is Jason Mind Sculptor. It was way too powerful when it came out, but we've had a lot of power creep in the meantime, and it might not be too absurd for constructed for standard. I mean, of course, that's always going to be a limited bomb, but I think it'd be a great addition to Arena. The one I really don't want it to be is Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, and I can't imagine they would put standard through that again. It just leads to so many miserable matchups that it just shouldn't happen. Karn, there's a lot of versions of Karn it could be. One to bring up would be the War Karn, but that is not that great for standard, but great for older formats. So it'd be whether they make it more accessible to people. While we also have like Liliana the Veil here. This is the most likely one from everybody's opinions going around, and I wouldn't mind having this in constructed. I'd play this in standard, why not? Next we have a blue card with Destroy All Creatures. Don't get yourself all worked up about thinking they're going to give you a blue Wrath. They're not. It's either going to be a gold card or something with a heavy restriction on it. It's not going to just be like, hey, blue got a sweeper, sweet. It's not going to happen. A 5 mana value creature can be a 10/10 is a pretty sure sign that Domain is coming back. Along with this, an ability word that didn't start as an ability word returns. Because Domain, Allied Strategies, all that cards like that. Then later on, Territorial Kavu came out, which gave that actually a word. So this is most likely going to be 5 mana. This creature gets +2/+2 for each land type used to cast it. 3 original Weatherlight crew members in the set. Well, why don't we look at this crew here? What they all have in common is that most of them are dead. So in the story, that leaves you with Urtai, Karn, Squee, and possibly Multani. Multani's probably not showing up, even though he could because he's an elemental type thing. But we've already seen art for Squee, and Urtai and Karn are heavily featured in the story. So I think we can confirm that those are going to be the 3 original Weatherlight crew showing up. We already talked about the ability word that didn't start as an ability word. It's going to be Domain. Rare cycle of +1/+1 granting Lords. Considering that we're on Dominaria, I think it's pretty safe to guess that it's just going to be the standard creature types like that. So you have like Merfolk and Elf, Goblin, and Zombie. Those type things. It's going to be based around that. A card that grants poison isn't the most exciting thing. Like, sure, if you want to do some poison counter shenanigans, why not? A new artifact with Lotus in the name. They like to use the word Lotus to hype people up. And sure, there are decent ones, but this is probably going to be an expensive card that ramps you up a good amount. I can't see them putting back in a card that's just something that's busted with the Lotus. It's not going to happen in standard. A character that players have been requesting gets a card for years, finally gets one. This is, in my opinion, going to be the Raven Man. We understand from spoilers, and which, spoiler alert everybody, Limdal is the Raven Man. So, while Limdal has a card, the Raven Man does not. And I think this is like going to be Maro twisting words to be able to say that it's the first time that he gets one. It's hard to get anything off of the rules text showing up on cards. As long as Enchanted Creature is legendary, just tells you that it's going to be some kind of aura that gets a bonus if it's a legendary thing. Enchantment creatures you control have is interesting. if it either says that we're definitely getting enchantment creatures, or it says enchanted creatures or enchantment creatures you control, which would be my guess for it. For each opponent who doesn't, that player loses 2 life and you draw a card. That sounds very much like a commander plant. Vehicles you control have crew 1 is probably either going to be on a vehicle or on some kind of pilot type creature. Oh, exile each non-land permanent with mana value 2 or less. This could end up being a really powerful card. I would love it if it was like a 3 mana type spell that did this. It'd be one of those weird cards that's really busted and constructed and really bad and limited. But hey, I'll settle for it. So we're going to guess that they're going to make some 3 mana card that does this. It's probably going to be a lot more, but I would like it as a 3 mana sorcery. Alright. Creature type lines is another thing you're going to have trouble finding anything out of. I'm excited for a Phyrexian horse, mostly for the comedy of having a Phyrexian horse, because that's what Phyrexians are into these days. Hey, that's cool, man. I don't judge. Elf Archer in red just means we're going to get a red creature with reach. Lurgoyf's an interesting one. I wonder if they're going to go all out and just drop Tarmogoyf here. Does that seem outrageous to some people? Probably. But it's no longer the powerhouse it used to be. It's not a big deal in older formats. A lot of times it's just been outclassed. So, would it be so bad to put it back in the standard? You don't have sacklands or anything running around, so... wouldn't be nearly as good as it used to be. A core soldier just means we're going to have the core ability running around. And we have the legendaries to talk about here. It's hard to get much off of this. I think Elf Artificer is clearly going to be the elf from the main story. Frog Beast sounds like a good time. And Elemental Demon, I don't know. Alright, everybody. I think that's what we can get out of Maro's spoiler for now. I appreciate you guys hanging out. And on August 18th, in a couple days, we can check out the launch. And they're going to tell us a lot more about the abilities and everything else going on in Dominaria. So don't forget to subscribe and like this down below. Alright, thanks for hanging out. Peace out, everybody.